Yo, what's up? This is Jay Dennis, and we're back with another Ranked and Reviewed. And today we're going to be doing a band that I've been sleeping on for a while, but that I have enjoyed quite a bit since high school, back in the mid-2000s, and are now seeing a huge resurgence to me, and creeping their way back up to, not among my top 10 favorite bands, but definitely a band that I very much enjoy listening to, and that is the almighty Norma Jean. We're going to be looking at 9 studio albums from 2002 up until 2022, so a solid 20-year span here of Norma Jean albums. They did release their most recent album, Deathrattle Sing, for me about 6 weeks ago, but life's been pretty tragic for me, so haven't gotten around to it until just recently, and frankly, Norma Jean's actually been getting me through a pretty difficult time, and I'm going to be getting into why the raw emotion expressed by this band and like the beautifully chaotic and melodic music that accompanies it, and like the sense of urgency that accompanies quite a few of their songs and even some of their albums really helps. There's something about authenticity, and there's something about really well executed themes and music that can really enhance what you're feeling, or get you through something. I know it's different strokes, different folks, but Norma Jean's definitely speaking my language lately, and I'm excited to talk about them. This is one of those bands where I enjoy all their albums, so don't get too angry if one of your favorite albums gets towards the bottom. I know there's probably some diehard old school fans that are probably going to be upset by this, but I'm going to objectively speak as to why my ranking is the way that it is. Definitely comment below what you agree or disagree with. But I have really enjoyed getting back into this band because during the 2010s, I didn't really listen to them a whole lot. So getting into their last 3 to 4 albums has been fun, and revisiting their first 4 or 5 has been a treat as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. At the bottom spot, we have their second album, Oh God, the Aftermath, which is their first album with Corey Brennan. I think that's how you say his name. Now, I know a lot of old school fans are going to be like, "Yo, what the fuck, man? It's like their best album. They haven't been great ever since." Well, that's a flaccid statement, and that's also a very fleeting, very vapid thought. To say that a band hasn't been good since a certain album, whilst ignoring the intense amount of effort, emotion, musicianship, and being able to get through so many lineup changes is just kind of an ignorant statement. If you want to say this is their best album because you like the sound of it, that's perfectly fine. But to claim that Norma Jean has lost their step in any way is frankly a retarded statement. So like I said, every album on here is actually enjoyable. The spread was pretty tight between the bottom and kind of the top spots. And by the way, the bottom 2 are basically tied. I gave the slight disadvantage to Oh God, the Aftermath, though, because it actually is an album you can listen to pretty easily from start to finish. It's pretty consistent, but it's just a little monolithic. All the songs kind of blend into each other. Not a whole lot of melody, not a whole lot of hooks or great memorable choruses, which is what I want to hear. I like Corey's clean vocals. I like the rawness of it. I've always enjoyed the song Vertebrae, Choke That Thief Called Dependence. The song titles on here are cool as fuck. They're all words that are blended together. So I'm reading just the first part, but also the second part, like Lie Arsenic, Creating a Universe of Discourse. I love the chorus of that song. But other than that, Scientifiction, Coffin Spire, and maybe Bayonet Work. Solid enough tracks, but again, not a whole lot to write home about. It's kind of monolithic, not a lot of standout tracks. A good enough debut by Corey to kind of continue the sound of Bless the Martyr and kind of prove, oh yeah, I can do that raw, hardcore, kind of metalcore sound. Different flavor of metalcore, though. Definitely different than the other metalcore bands at the time. Definitely leaning more towards the math rock, chaotic, hardcore sound with the emergency chords. But yeah, I listened to this album a few times back in the day. Only a song or two on my iPod back then, and to this day, least favorite album. Next up is the album that I originally put at the bottom, but then I listened to it again and realized it's slightly better, but only by a little bit. And that is their 2010 release, Maradional, their fifth album, the middle album. Worst album title, worst album cover, but that has nothing to do with the actual material. The reason why this one sits towards the bottom also is because it's a very front-loaded album. The first 5 songs are enjoyable. You got really great choruses and songs like Leaderless and The Self-Enlisted. Immediate Friendly Turn for the Worse has a great chorus. Anthem of Angry Brides was kind of always my favorite song. Great drop C material, great lead work on there. Deathbed Atheist, I really enjoyed the darkness of that song, and Bastardizer, pretty fun skater track in my opinion. And even Bloodburner and High Noise, Low Output are decent enough, but Falling from the Sky, Everlasting Tapeworm, Innocent Bystanders, really nothing too exciting there. And I know I skipped People Surround You, kind of just a decent Norma Jean song. This one does have sentimental value because in 2010 I did actually buy the album and listen to it quite a bit when it came out. It just didn't age as well as the other ones, but it's still definitely enjoyable to listen to. They experimented on this one quite a bit. They leaned more into the melodic side for sure compared to the last couple releases. And again, they did pretty well on some of the hooks, but I just kind of feel like it lost some of the power. Not that they have to be heavy all the time, but I just kind of feel like even if in the studio they put forth a lot of effort, I feel like their hearts and just the urgency wasn't in the songs as much as, say, some of these other albums. So, next up at the number 7 spot. And here we go. Probably going to get even more shit for this, but it's their first album, Bless the Martyr, Kiss the Child. Now, look, this is an album for a generation. This is one of the most important albums of the scene, the metalcore, more hardcore sound. It's got some of the most iconic songs on it. But collectively as an album, it sits towards the bottom. I did just realize that it was produced by Adam Deutschwitz from Killswitch, so to see that his hand was on this is pretty awesome. It's also the only Norma Jean album with Josh Scoggin, who is an awesome vocalist. I saw Norma Jean and the Chariot, which is Josh Scoggin's other band, was his other band. I saw them play live back in 2010, and holy fuck, that was one of the craziest shows I ever went to, and they did a couple songs together too, and fucking nailed it. One of the best live shows I've ever seen. I also really enjoy the Chariot too, so I'll probably be doing a rank to them soon. Bless the Martyr, Kiss the Child. I was hoping this one would place higher, but there's just something about these other Norma Jean albums that just are better for me. I would say Bless the Martyr is easier to listen to than, say, Maradional or Oh God. But it opens up with one of the worst opening tracks, which is The Entire World is Counting on Me and They Don't Even Know It. Kind of a bland opening track, a little too stripped down, bare bones for my taste. But the quality and the urgency really pick up with that opening chaotic, miserable horror sound of Face Face. Awesome single. And then, of course, it is naturally followed up with one of their best songs, one of the greatest songs of a generation, which is Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste. I've always loved this song. Still one of Norma Jean's best songs. One of the most memorable, iconic tracks of the entire genre. Can't mess with it. Another solid song, Creating Something Out of Nothing. The 15-minute track, Pretty Soon, I don't know what, but something is going to happen. That's a journey. To put a 15-minute song in that early on in an album, as if they were Dream Theater or something, it's kind of strange. Part of the reason why this album sits a little bit lower is because of the flow of the album and the structure of it. But there are really good songs on here. Out of the 11 rateable tracks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, about 7 out of 11 I really enjoy. The other 4 are just kind of meh. The meh tracks are the opening track, Shotgun Message, if you can even count that short song. It Was As If a Dead Man Stood Upon the Air, another short, kind of forgettable track. And sometimes It's Our Mistakes That Make Our Greatest Ideas, kind of a good enough song. Another song that I actually really enjoy is I Used to Hate Cell Phones, but Now I Hate Car Accidents. So a lot of parts of this album sound like they're jam sessions, which for a band that heavy and fun sounds awesome. But this is if you're into the more raw Norma Jean classic stuff, before they got more experimental, got more variety with the vocals, even got more variety with the guitar tunings, then yeah, their first two albums are going to be your favorites. I still think Bless the Martyr is much better than Oh God and even better than Maradional, but I still think that it was only the groundwork for what they were going to do in later albums. Which, by the way, before I get to those, I want to give an honorable mention to Ludicrous, the band that they used to be. I actually did decide to go through and listen to their Throwing Myself and their 5 EP. Throwing Myself is awesome. I actually enjoy it more than their bottom three. I think they sound great in Drop C. I think the leaning a little bit more towards, like, not the Deftones side, but just, I don't know how to describe it, but I really enjoyed listening to it. Throwing Myself is an awesome album. Way better flow, way better consistency. So if I were to throw those in the mix, I'd put it maybe towards the middle. And then the 5 EP, which is new Norma Jean, new metal Norma Jean, sounding like Adrenaline from Deftones or something like that. Even a little bit of record scratching. Sounds pretty cool in the first couple tracks, and it gets kind of meh on the last few. But definitely enjoyable to listen to. And if you haven't gone and listened to those, they're on YouTube. I highly recommend at least giving them one try. And yeah, so let's go ahead and move on. Next up at the number 6 spot, we have another very sentimental album for me, and that is the Auntie Mother, their 4th album from 2008. Listened to this album quite a bit my senior year of high school. Still think that it's pretty damn solid. I think this is when they finally started introducing some lower tunings like Drop B. My favorite song on the album has always been Self-Employed Chemist. It's like you know the words and the music. Sorry, I'm not trying to mock Corey. I fucking love how he sounds. I love the single, Robots 3, Humans 0, can you help me every step of the way? To me, Auntie Mother sounds like the perfect median between Redeemer and Maradional. You got a little bit more of the melodic side that you hear in Maradional, but then you still get that chaotic, raw, catchy perfection that you get out of Redeemer, which is not me foreshadowing this ranking. Murphy Was an Optimist, another great song. Trying to think. Vipers, Snakes, Actors, a great opening track. And Swarm of Hornets is a great heavy closing track. So, don't have a whole lot to say more about this except, Self-Employed Chemist has one of the best choruses. I fucking love that lead work, the vocal work, and everything about it. So, Auntie Mother, great album to listen to from front to back. The only skippable song is probably Opposite of Left and Wrong. Other than that, every song is great. Nothing excellent, though. Self-Employed Chemist almost got it, though. Next up, we have basically a 3-way tie, but each one is marginally better than the other, but it was hard to rank these three. At the number 5 spot, we have their 2013 album, Wrongdoers, which is, again, this was around the time I kind of fell off and didn't listen to Norma Jean for a while. But these guys fucking nailed it with this release. It kind of started off slow with Hive Minds. You got this crazy Milk music video with If You Got It at 5, which, Wrongdoers partially sounds better on the second listen, and then some of it kind of sounded better on the first. That meaning, like, the first half of the album sounded better on the second listen. Potter Has No Hands. I love the freaking harmonics on the guitar, the riffs there. Sordid Mouth, great chorus. I love the quick, heavy nature of Lash Whistled. I'm kind of just shortening the song titles here. But yeah, the album closes on a strong note. Like, it's basically Neck and Hemp. The best song is Triffids in that chorus. Can't fuck with it. Same thing with Funeral Singer and Sun Dies Blood Moon. Great outros to both of those songs. I gave Wrongdoers an 8.5 out of 10. It's a solid album. Really nothing excellent on there, but it is a great album. It's a solid B album for me. When I say excellent, I'm talking about like A territory. If I'm being really nitpicky, as a metalhead and as a listener of music, I think Norma Jean's an excellent band, and Wrongdoers is an awesome addition to the catalog. Next up to continue this 3-way tie, we have the slightly better follow-up release, Polar Similar, from 2016. A lot like Wrongdoers, pretty consistent, solid set of songs with a couple that are a little bit more forgettable, like Reaction or Close and Discomfort, 1,000 Years a Minute. Not better songs, but it opens on a better note. And even if you skip the skippable tracks, like the interlude tracks, the album still flows pretty well. Eye of the Planet's a solid opener. Everyone Talking, awesome drop A material there. Forever Hurtling Towards, whatever it's called, and then 1,000 Watts, another solid single there. My favorite song on the album is Death is a Living Partner. I love just the chaotic nature of it. And then An Ocean of War, beautiful, heavy song right there. Again, the album is just tiny bit, like a hair better than Wrongdoers, but same quality. Another awesome album that I slept on. And to cap off this three-way tie, we have All Hail, the follow-up to Polar Similar from 2019. And this is I just listened to this again for like the third time today at the gym. And this one's got the best flow of the ones I just talked about. It kind of grows on me even more with each additional listen. Mind Over Mind and Safety Last are awesome singles. Landslide Defeater as well. Best songs on the album. I love the chorus to With Errors. The chorus to Translational. Corrine is a beautiful song, and then Anna's an awesome song as well. So it's going to sound like I'm not really talking a whole lot about some of these albums, but I just really enjoy the last couple releases because of them releasing these even lower tunings like Drop A and even some like Drop A Sharp. Sounds incredible. All Hail just sounds like a freaking evil, dark album. Like they're almost about to be stepping into some of their absolute best territory with this release. So the 2010s, after Maradional, Wrongdoers, Polar Similar, and All Hail, all excellent releases that I totally slept on. And this doesn't happen with a lot of bands that I rank, where usually I tend to have a bias towards the albums that I grew up with or that I listened to back then. But in this case, the albums that I missed and didn't listen to are actually most impressive to me at this point. Until we get to the top two. Top two albums are also kind of neck and neck. And this was kind of hard, but I had to really go back and listen to it with an honest ear. The number 2 spot goes to Redeemer from 2006, their third album. This was the album that got me into Norma Jean. Used to listen to this album from front to back quite a bit in high school. One of the albums that definitely got me into like more hardcore music, like actual like more chaotic breakdowns, not like your standard drop C metalcore breakdowns of like As I Lay Dying or Killswitch Engage or stuff like that. But some of these other breakdowns were like maybe there's a little bit more hardcore dancing and shit going on. So like, yeah, which I know it's kind of dumb, but whatever. Redeemer is just, for the longest time, was the absolute pinnacle of Norma Jean. It's still one of the most unique and incredible albums that I've ever listened to. I can see how this band and this album inspired so many bands beyond that. Redeemer has the absolute best opening track, Grand Scene in Color Film, one of my all-time favorite opening tracks. You want to break out the shotguns and go into town. Just the back and forth between Corey's vocals and lyrics and the way they complement the guitars and the drums and bass just carry it all along sound incredible. The sonicality, the mixing, the mastering of this album. Actually, let me see if I can find real quick. I guarantee you of course it was fucking produced by Ross Robinson. Anything that man touches is instant gold. Fucking Limp Bizkit, Slipknot. I'm trying to think. There's so many other bands. Anyway, of course Ross Robinson touched this album and he made it in gold. Grand Scene, and then of course Blueprint for Future Homes. I love that music video. I love the chorus. Yeah, that's what I said. You're killing me. Like, just, it's such a fucking awesome, catchy, heavy album. Like, it combines all the things I love the most about music when it's heavy and catchy and like gripping. And the tone kind of slows down a little bit with like a small spark versus a great force, but it's still awesome guitar work, excellent musicianship. Then it picks back up with Temperamental Widower, which has one of the catchiest guitar riffs with that two-step drumming and some catchy vocals as well. One of the most important songs from this band, in my opinion, and they're one of their biggest singles, Songs Sound Much Sadder. That was really the song, along with Memphis Laid to Waste, that really got me into them. One of the most oddly chaotic and catchy melodic choruses and just MySpace era music I've ever heard, and still to this day sounds incredible. The only reason why this album didn't place at the very top, which it almost did, is because the back half of the album just doesn't have that same level of urgency. I think Amnesty Please is solid, and the last track, No Passenger, No Parasite, are memorable songs, very unique. But other songs like Cemetery Like a Stage or like Sending Circles, not my favorite songs, but also by no means weak tracks. But let's go ahead and get into the number one spot, which is their newest album, Deathrattle Sing for me. I knew that when I heard Spearmint Revolt and maybe another single, I was like, this album is either going to get really close or it's going to surpass Redeemer. These guys are actually going to show how powerful they still are. So to me, Deathrattle Sing for me is like a modern day Redeemer, but it's just nastier. It's more evil. And somehow, the reason why Redeemer was so memorable and so perfect was because of where it sat in the space of time. For the year 2006, that album sat perfectly. It hung with all the other bands that had put out some of their best albums during that metalcore / alternative boom of the mid-2000s. Some of my favorite eras of all time in music. Some of my best memories from those years. And to this day, like, it still like gets me through like good and bad times. To me, Deathrattle recaptured that and proved that Norma Jean still has it, that Corey Brennan's vocals have actually gotten even better. The guitar work, the drumming, the bass, the maturity in their songwriting has gotten even better. This band has aged like fucking fine wine. A lot like Devil Wears Prada, frankly. And maybe a couple of other bands I've reviewed recently. But Spearmint Revolt is my new favorite Norma Jean song. I love the Deftones sound of A Memorial Horde. Aria Obscura is another excellent track. And yeah, Deathrattle's got the most amount of high quality songs, like excellent tracks. Any Percentage, another great, chaotic, awesome song. The guitar work in the chorus of W Wave, Killing Word. And then they give like a little nod to Redeemer with a sleep explosion. That fucking breakdown towards the end sounds like something I would have heard off of Redeemer. And then the outro to the closing track, Heartache. Just another incredible song. So it sounds like I don't have a whole lot to say, but I just think this is their most well-written album. It actually screams. The reason I love it so much is, frankly, it reminds me of Architects. Architects is like still one of my all-time favorite bands, and I don't know if Norma Jean and Architects like borrowed from each other or inspired each other at different points, because they've been around almost the same amount of time. You could argue that, oh no, Norma Jean's been around since the late 90s, Architects was the early 2000s, but whatever. In terms of like their relevancy, and close enough. I would say albums like Hollow Crown definitely borrowed from things like Redeemer, and then fucking Deathrattle borrowed from things like, I don't know, Gone Forever, Lost Forever, or Daybreaker. Just the drop G sharp nature. So one of my all-time favorite bands, or maybe it's just a coincidence, Norma Jean is using themes and sounds and emotionally anchored musical dynamics to make me love them even more. And that's all present in Deathrattle. And that's why it has the smallest edge over Redeemer. And the fact that they just put out their best album 20 years into being Norma Jean is a fucking gift. And I thank you guys for continuing to write incredible music. And to hear what some fans have to say about this band, it's really heartening also to hear other people talk about what this band means to them and how emotionally gripping and heavy, and like why heavy music has such a powerful place in this life. And Norma Jean does it beautifully. So let's recap real quick, and then I'll give you my top 10 songs from them. From least favorite to most favorite, we got Oh God, the Aftermath, Maradional, Bless the Martyr, Kiss the Child, Auntie Mother, Wrongdoers, Polar Similar, All Hail, Redeemer, and then their newest album, Deathrattle Sing for me. Top songs are Triffids, Death is a Living Partner, Self-Employed Chemist, Any Percentage, Blueprints for Future Homes, Aria Obscura, Memphis Will Be Laid to Waste, Grand Scene for Color Film. Songs sound much sadder. And, of course, my new favorite song from them is Spearmint Revolt. But, yeah, man, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to comment what you agree or disagree with. You know, try to keep it light. You know, if Oh God, The Aftermath's your favorite album, that's perfectly fine. You can make your case in the comments. Again, Norma Jean's getting me through a pretty difficult time right now, and you know, I love talking music with people. And if the new album or even Redeemer or other things spoke to you, definitely let me know too. Subscribe, check out the other Ranked reviews that I've done, and I'm trying to get back into doing these more regularly. There's quite a few other bands that have recently put out albums that I want to get to. So thanks for bearing with me, guys, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace! And while we thought that we were learning how to live, we have been learning how to die. We should have known we would be legends! Fuck, I love that harmony. Ugh. Is this shit still recording?